See though, because I don't know how bright their light at the end of the tunnel is. Let's have a look at the remaining games that they have in their schedule. You could see some big ones. Manchester United coming up on April 18th, then away to Brighton, Leeds United, Nottingham Forest, and then Liverpool, Spurs, Sunderland. A lot of scrappy teams there, Craig. Are Chelsea up for it based on what we saw today?
Up for the Champions League?
Yes.
Probably, just about.
You picked them to pick Liverpool?
I think, well, there's 5 teams now.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm trying to remember who's. I think Villa are going to be in there, drew today. Anyway, I think there's a bigger picture here at Chelsea, is that four years or so into this ownership, and they're still also runs to a Man City side, for example, that's far from the juggernaut that it was.
Yeah.
They're still making decisions at management level with managers that are, hurried and baffling. My thoughts on Liam Rosenior and his rhetoric. My thoughts on the suspension of Enzo Fernandez was just ridiculous. Cucurella was basically caning the board and their inability to run a football club properly, and yet none of it made sense. Now, I'm not suggesting if Enzo Fernandez played today that Chelsea would have won the game, not at all, but you've got to pick your best team. And you don't make such a mountain out of a molehill, which I think Chelsea have in this scenario, when they have got this top 5 to go for, when you have got Man City coming on your doorstep. And it's not just the result, it's the reverberations around the dressing room. When you're making comments and making decisions like this, how that affects the rest of the dressing room, the mindset of the rest of the dressing room. What the hell's going on here? Yeah. What's the manager talking about? What are the club doing? Are we not allowed to talk to people? Are we not allowed to give answers? Yeah. I mean, if it's not the perfect situation.
Craig, respect the ball.
But yeah, we've had all that. Respect the ball and all that. So the whole thing it just doesn't sit well with me. And if I was a Chelsea player, looking at the way they operate the football club and listening to what this current manager, how he prattles on to press conferences and talks to the TV, then maybe there's a few more players would like to go and live in Madrid. Because a lot of those players are good players and want to play at a higher level. And there's a big question mark with, Gilles talked about Arsenal. Win, lose or draw, they're definitely going in the right direction and have been for quite some time. It was tough at the start, but they're definitely going in the right direction with the squad, the way they're playing, the way they're competing on all fronts. Could you honestly say Chelsea are going in the right direction? Yeah, they've been signing young players and giving them long contracts, but do they know what their path is going forward for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? I'm not sure they do. They're going from pillar to post, and I think we're seeing signs of that on the field.
Well, look at it. Look at Chelsea of the past. You sign a young De Bruyne, he can't get into the side, but you're winning a lot of trophies. You sign a young Mo Salah, he can't get into the side, but you're winning a bunch of trophies. Okay, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you get in the side or not. What you basically care is, can you compete and can you get over the line? And the Chelsea teams of the past did that. Now, yeah, that's great. Sign a young player, big contract, but they still have to produce. And I don't think the fans care. I think the fans are just frustrated that Chelsea is not producing the way they used to.
Jules, your thoughts on what you saw from Chelsea today and how much the whole Liam Rosenior, Enzo Fernandez situation is to blame?
I thought that decision was pathetic, to be fair. Yep. I agree completely with what Craig just said. I actually think that Cucurella's interview was far worse than Enzo Fernandez just saying Madrid is a great city and I would love to play for Real Madrid, like every single player on the planet would say.
Unless you were born in Barcelona, every single player says the same thing.
True, Case. That's true. Yeah. But when Rodri says it, Guardiola answers in his press conference by saying, "I completely understand. Yeah. It's absolutely fine. Why would it bother you if one of your players said, Real Madrid are a club I dream for? When Leonard Carl, who's 17 at Bayern Munich, says that he would love to play for Bayern Munich one day in a long time. Vincent Kompany doesn't drop him for 2 games. So I thought that was pathetic. And for me, it sums up very well what's happening at Chelsea right now. That project is failing, we know. They're not going to make Champions League football next season, which would be a disaster for them, not just financially, but for that project in itself. And by the way, if we don't even look at the project or where they might be in a year, 2, 3, what are they even trying to do on the football pitch at the moment? Because today, and I know I was with Case on first half, tried to negate. So what, now you start playing football, not to lose. Because today they set up not to lose. Against PSG in Paris, they set up not to lose. Against Arsenal in the League Cup semi-final at the Emirates, they set up not to lose. This is not Chelsea Football Club. This is not how this team should play. This is certainly not what this manager should be doing. And I love Liam Rosenior, as you know. We know the family. We know Leroy's dad, all of that. I think he's a really good young coach that has a great future ahead of him. But right now, he's making too many mistakes and he's out of his depth.
So, I mean, just quickly, Jules, on this one, I don't want to sort of dwell too much on it. But that ridiculous decision, and I totally agree with you, it's absolutely bonkers. This ridiculous decision to suspend a player, did it come straight from the manager, or do you think it came from up top and he had to swallow it?
So he said that it was a joint decision with the people above him, those million sporting directors that they have. Some people are a bit skeptical about that, which I can understand. What's interesting is when he was at Strasbourg, he suspended Emmanuel Emega, who's the club captain, their best player, that number 9, who's coming to Chelsea, by the way, this summer. Because Emega said a few things in his mixed zone interviews, basically saying, I'm the best player in this team. Look at when I'm not playing, they lose to team like, you know, average teams. But when I'm there, we beat PSG, we beat Marseille. And Liam didn't like that. So he suspended him. He suspended his best player, basically. So that part is making me think maybe that's actually his decision to go with that on Enzo because he didn't like a couple of things. And if that's the case, I don't know what's worse, if it's his decision or the board and he just had to follow because in that job at Chelsea you have to be a yes man, you know, and we saw that with Maresca.
Chelsea Football Club have sent shockwaves through the football world after officially parting ways with Liam Rosenior following a crushing 3-0 defeat to Manchester City. The result proved to be the final straw for the club's hierarchy, who had been growing increasingly concerned about inconsistent performances and a lack of identity on the pitch. The match itself highlighted Chelsea's ongoing struggles. From the first whistle, Manchester City dominated possession, dictated the tempo, and exposed defensive weaknesses that have plagued Chelsea throughout the season. Goals from City's attacking stars left the Blues stunned, with fans at Stamford Bridge voicing their frustration as the game slipped further out of reach. Rosenior, who was brought in with high hopes of rebuilding the squad and restoring Chelsea's competitive edge, now leaves under intense scrutiny. Despite moments of promise, his tenure failed to deliver the consistency required at a club of Chelsea's stature. Questions had been mounting over his tactical decisions, squad selections, and ability to manage big personalities in the dressing room. Behind the scenes, reports suggest tensions had been building between the manager and key players, contributing to a fractured atmosphere within the squad. The heavy defeat to Manchester City ultimately accelerated a decision that many insiders believe had been under consideration for weeks. Chelsea's focus now turns to the future. The club is expected to move quickly in appointing an interim manager while conducting a thorough search for a long-term replacement. Names of experienced coaches and high-profile candidates are already being linked with the role, as the Blues aim to salvage their season and re-establish themselves among the Premier League's elite. For the fans, this marks yet another chapter in what has been a turbulent period for Chelsea Football Club. The hope will be that this decisive action sparks a turnaround, bringing renewed energy, discipline, and direction back to Stamford Bridge. One thing is certain: change has arrived at Chelsea, and the pressure is now on to get the next appointment right.